I swear I've never seen someone so determined to ruin another person's day. Until that morning, and I had no idea it would cost me my peace of mind and almost my patience. I stepped out of my house that crisp October morning, the kind where the sun glints off the dew and the world feels new. I grabbed my coffee, ready for my usual drive to the farm, when my heart literally stopped. There it was, Karen's black SUV. Blocking my driveway as if it owned my land, I walked up slowly, trying to reason with myself before confronting her. "Karen, what are you doing?" I asked, my voice calm but trembling. She didn't even look at me. She sat smugly behind the wheel, fiddling with her phone. "This is HOA approved," she said finally, her words dripping with venomous satisfaction. "You shouldn't park your trailer here. It's an eyesore." I felt a surge of anger, my hands gripping the coffee cup so hard it almost shattered. "This is my property, Karen. My driveway. You have no right to block it." "Right." Her laugh was sharp and cold. "I have every right. Rules are rules." I knew then that reasoning with her was futile. This was the same woman who once tried to sue a neighbor for putting up a bird feeder. She thrived on control. My only crime was existing peacefully. But my morning wasn't just ruined by her arrogance. It was tainted by a deep, painful frustration. I had chores to do, a farm to tend, and a life to live. And Karen, well, she had her own twisted sense of power. I stepped back, feeling my chest tighten. I could see the small world of our neighborhood, people quietly watching from behind curtains, sensing the tension but too afraid to intervene. "Please, just move your car?" I pleaded, trying to keep my voice steady. She shook her head slowly, her eyes gleaming with that HOA pride glow. "Not until I say so." I walked back to my house, a storm of emotions whirling inside me: anger, helplessness, and a flicker of regret. I knew that if I didn't respond carefully, I could do something I'd regret forever. And yet, something in me whispered, sometimes you have to fight for what's yours. Even if the world thinks you're being dramatic. The hours passed like an eternity. I couldn't focus on my work. Every glance toward the driveway brought a fresh wave of rage. I tried calling the HOA, but you know how that goes. Denless hold music and polite deference. By afternoon, I realized something crucial. I had an old tractor. A beast of a machine I hadn't used in months. It was rusty, loud, but undeniably powerful. And Karen's SUV. It looked increasingly movable. I know what you're thinking. Don't do it. Believe me, my mind was screaming it too. But my body had already decided. I walked back to the driveway, this time with a steady resolve. Karen watched from behind her tinted windows, clearly enjoying the spectacle. "Thinking of leaving yet?" I asked, my voice low but firm. "Nope," she said, smirking. Something inside me snapped. Not out of hatred, but out of the pure frustration of being powerless for so long. I climbed into the tractor, feeling its familiar weight beneath me. "Karen, I'm warning you," I called, though my heart pounded in my ears. Her laugh was the last thing I heard before I carefully maneuvered the tractor. Toward the SUV, I wasn't reckless. I knew exactly how to nudge her car without hurting anyone. A few seconds later, with a slow, controlled push, the SUV tipped slightly, then slid gently into the ditch at the edge of my property. Karen jumped out screaming, a mix of rage and disbelief on her face. You crazy man," she yelled, pacing. "This is vandalism." I stepped out calmly, wiping sweat from my brow. "No, Karen. This is justice. You blocked my life. I just returned the favor without hurting anyone." For a moment, she looked defeated, staring at her car half stuck in mud. And then, slowly, I realized something. I didn't feel victorious. Not really. I felt relieved. By evening, the neighborhood was buzzing. Everyone knew what had happened. Some cheered in secret. Others shook their heads in disapproval. The HOA sent emails, letters, even a formal complaint. Karen demanded compensation. But I had documented everything: her illegal blocking, the witnesses, and my careful actions. The real battle, though it wasn't legal, it was emotional. I spent that night thinking about how far anger can take you and how fragile our sense of control is. My phone rang early the next morning. It was my neighbor, Mrs. Thompson. "I saw what happened, dear," she said softly. "Honestly, I think you showed everyone that standing up for yourself doesn't have to be mean-spirited. You were firm, not cruel." Her words hit me harder than any argument with Karen ever could. I realized then that this was never about the SUV or the driveway. It was about honoring my life, my property, and my peace of mind. Karen, predictably, was furious. She tried to make it a drama, but no one really cared anymore. Life continued. And strangely, so did our neighborhood, with its petty rules and secret grudges. Weeks later, I was back on my porch watching the sunset paint gold across the fields. Karen had her SUV towed eventually, and I hadn't touched it again. A small smile crept across my face. Not because I had one, but because I realized something profound. Sometimes, standing up for yourself is the kindest thing you can do, not just for you, but for everyone watching. That evening, Mrs. Thompson came by with a basket of apples. We sat together, sharing stories of frustration, joy, and regret. And I understood that life isn't just about defending property, it's about protecting dignity. Self-respect and peace. Karen may have lost a car, but I gained something far greater: the courage to act, the wisdom to reflect, and the joy of knowing that fairness doesn't always come from rules, it comes from your heart. As I finished my coffee and watched the first stars appear, I felt a quiet gratitude. I wasn't perfect. I wasn't flawless. But I had stayed true to myself, and that, I realized, is what really matters. And maybe, just maybe, this story will inspire someone else to stand tall when life tries to block their way. Have you ever faced someone like Karen in your life? Share your story below, I promise. Your voice deserves to be heard. Asterisk, this story is just the beginning. There is so much more ahead. Subscribe to the channel to join me on this journey.